Drivers, start your engines!
This is MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. One full hour of news, interviews, and opinion about the past weekend's racing action. Brought to you by Hercules Tires.
Pace car is on.
Now, here are your hosts, Woody Kane and Joey Meyer.
Green flag, green flag.
Welcome to the Motorsports Monday, 4th of July Spectacular. We even have our own fireworks. It's presented by Outback Steakhouse today, as it is every day. I'm Woody Kane, joined by the winner, the winning spotter, Two-Spotter on Twitter, at Two-Spotter. Mine is at WY Kane. You can play along with us at MRN Radio. Just use that hashtag AskMRN so we can find your tweet and answer your question along the way. Congratulations. How about you?
A lot of fun, a lot of fun. It's been my first victory at Daytona in a long, long time since back with Michael Waltrip. We've experienced some fun there, but Brad Keselowski and the two-car guys finally got it done at Daytona for our second consecutive restrictor plate win. It's very, very, very good.
When are people going to start saying Brad Keselowski's, not a bad restrictor plate driver?
Well, later on, we're going to talk about a little on-track, off-track, and a little bit of double standards issue right now with those guys. Regardless of what happens, regardless of what you can say, we have a trophy that says Daytona champion on it, which is really cool. And Brad has 5 restrictor plate wins. So say what you want, and they've all been in different. What I like about it is, except for the 2 this year, they've all been in different kind of generations, dating back from 09 with the COT car to 2012 when we were starting to pod race a little bit, and he was able to get away from Kyle, to a couple of years ago, him being able to make a last lap pass for Ryan Newman, to this 2 races this year. So they've all been different kind of generational race styles for the restrictor plate tracks. Been very successful at Talladega. We just have not been able to pull one off at Daytona. And he worked really hard all night long to keep that car up front. The guys on pit road did a good job. The guys back at Roush Yates, they've put up some steam, which we saw a lot of Roush oval cars, blue oval cars.
Wins the pole,
Exactly right. So it was we talk about it on the show at least once every hour because it's an hour-long show.
There you go.
It's a team effort.
Has to be.
And that we showed that from under the hood to the pit stops to the driver to the crew chief and everybody involved with it. So it was great to bring that car home.
Absolutely it was. Want to remind you folks that our sponsor Outback Steakhouse is doing great things at lunch right now. The specials starting at $6.99 and the Joey menu. It's for kids, but he thinks it's for him. He's wrong, but we'll let him keep thinking that as long as he likes. They've switched to that center cut sirloin now, and it's fantastic. I promise you, next time we do one of these taste test things, you might be involved.
The interesting thing is there's no free bloomin' onion.
That's right, because Kevin Harvick missed the top 10 finish this
onion.
week. You won't get the free bloomin' onion today, but he'll give it a try again next week. Outback Steakhouse, done right. And you should check out that new app they've got where you can tell them you're coming beforehand. They'll have a seat ready for you. You can divide up your ticket at the table yourself without making the server do it. All kinds of cool things going on at Outback Steakhouse. Check them out. Tell them Joey sent you to get the Joey menu if you have kids. So I'm looking here at your collection of hats, and one of them says 100.
Yep, that's pretty damn cool. It's not the number of hair follicles we counted.
Between the two of us?
Between the 2 of us, it's not. I was extremely, extremely proud to be associated with Team Penske's 100th Sprint Cup win in the series with Brad. Being able to pull that off. Mr. Penske was in the house, which was awesome.
Yep.
We were able to celebrate his 20th win overall. And, again, our first time being in Victory Lane together, as well as the number 2 for Team Penske had never visited Victory Lane. So a couple of different milestones. I was able to rummage through
At Daytona, you mean?
At Daytona,
at Daytona.
Yes, at Daytona, which is kind of an unusual thing. The number 2 had never won there. So
you would think sometime over the years
exactly,
it would have.
Yeah, exactly right. So we were able to do that. And I've been very fortunate enough to be associated with some great teams in my lifetime in the NASCAR, and I was able to pull this out. We actually had this back in 2005. I was a part of the 100th victory with Martin Truex at IRP.
There you go.
There you go.
Golf clap going on back there from our studio audience. That's fantastic.
the 100th victory, some guys were calling me Mr. Centurion earlier the day. So that was pretty nice.
Oh, boy. Have we done 100 shows yet?
I don't know that.
We got to be getting up there.
Got to be getting close.
We might have missed a milestone there. I hate to think that way, but we might have.
But you always remember, I can go back and talk about first victories with Martin Truex and my first victory with Michael, and you remember certain numbers, but 100 is really cool. That'll be celebrated for a long time to come over there at Team Penske.
All right, let's hear what the driver had to say in Victory Lane when he spoke with our Winston Kelly after getting his first victory at Daytona on Saturday night.
Brad, you led 115 laps, definitely a team win here. Let's talk about how strong this race car was and what it was that you were able to keep up front in every single lane. I mean, you used every single lane all night long.
I did. The car really handled very well, and Daytona has really turned into a handling race, and we kind of had that figured out with good speed, good handling, and total team effort with just a great day.
You've won a lot of restrictor plate races at Talladega. Your first ever in Daytona. What does that feel like?
It's really good. Everybody says July race isn't like the 500, and in some ways it isn't. It might not pay as much, it might not have the prestige, but it's still Daytona, and we're in Victory Lane, and that's awesome.
And Team Penske celebrating their 50th anniversary this year, 100 Sprint Cup Series victory, and you were able to bring it home for them.
That's great. Every victory is sweet, but it's always nice to have those little things go with it.
There you go, and we cut out the part where he thanked you, just to not make your head swell up anymore.
To honor and give me some kudos, he let me fly the plane home.
Did he really?
Yep.
How about that?
Yep.
Well, that was a big night for you guys,
the
way around. But the thing that I wanted to go back to there is talking about using all the lanes. You guys clearly had a really good car, good driver, but at Daytona, as we know in restrictor plate racing, you can't do anything by yourself, and if those guys gang up in a line behind you, you can go to the back in a hurry if you don't manage it correctly.
Years ago in the late 90s and early 2000s, we saw really strong restrictor plate cars that were able just to stay out front in single lane, cars lined up behind them, and you just drug those cars around. With these cars now being so close, it does take a lot of driver input and a lot of communication from myself and the driver, I feel, for him to manage the lanes. Because you have two lanes ganged up behind him, and their jobs are to try to pass the leader. So they're working together in cars of 2, 3, and 4. At Talladega, it ends up being 5 or 6 because handling does not play a part of the speed. Handling plays a part at Daytona, so some of the guys that aren't handling well tend not to get the energy that I talk about being built up.
Did you use that this time again?
I didn't use it as much because it was a different race, and everybody even said, you didn't use that word as much, but it was a different race because handling played such a big portion of it. You don't get those large amount of cars getting all the same runs off the same corner. At Daytona, when you can't stay wide open and guys were having to lift, it doesn't create as much energy, and it's a smaller group, but you still have multiple cars trying to get by the leader. And for the driver to be able to manage that, he does have to change lanes. And cars going out in front and moving are able to push you out in front. And if you get too far out in front, then that car is able to get by you by popping that air bubble behind you. So it does take a lot of work to stay out front. We've seen the likes of Jamie McMurray and Dale Jr. and Brad Keselowski been successful with that managing lane up front strategy or procedure.
It seems to me like in years past we would see one particular lane or the other kind of become the favorite through the race. And this time, in this race, the Coke Zero 400 on Saturday night, it shifted it. Sometimes the high lane was really good, sometimes the low lane was really good.
It was really a matter of where your car was handling versus the temperature of the night and where everybody wanted to get lined up at. The cars, when they were started to handle really bad, you got up against the wall, kind of loosen them up a little bit so you guys could stay in the gas. And then the guys in the middle of that pack that couldn't stay, they end up getting jumbled out. It was a good handling track. Daytona is notoriously more about handling than Talladega because of a little bit tighter turns. So we see that coming into play more and more now.
All right, we got a really big show for you on Motorsports Monday. Michael McDowell had a strong top 10 run. He's going to join us in the next segment. And a little bit later on, you may have seen a lot of Twitter buzz over the weekend about Matt Tifft. You know, he had to get out of the car for Iowa, which Sam Hornish Jr. wound up winning when they discovered a back injury. While they were getting treatment for that, they discovered a brain tumor. He had surgery for that over the weekend. Matt Tifft is already home, and he's going to be calling in on the show a little bit later on as well. You play along with us at MRN Radio. Use that hashtag AskMRN if you have a question. All that is coming up on the show. We'll be back with Michael McDowell right after this.
1 to go. The white flag at the start-finish line. Here they come racing back. It's Brad over Kurt Busch. Here comes Kyle Busch diving down to the inside now. Here comes Joey Logano.
Logano on the comeback trail, fires it off to the inside. He wants to move under Kyle Busch, but Kyle pulls to the outside of Kurt Busch in turn 2. At the front, Brad Keselowski by less than a car length to the super stretch.
Final time off turn number 2. Brad Keselowski out in front all by himself. It's a hornet's nest behind him. Kurt Busch to the inside of Kyle Busch. 2 and 3 wide, bouncing off each other. This is for the win at Daytona.
And Brad Keselowski blocking both lanes, goes topside to block the advance from Kyle Busch. Now back to the bottom to advance to block the advance from Kurt Busch. Here comes Logano as Kurt Busch spins off the corner.
Here comes Brad Keselowski, though, leading as he has most of the evening. He'll score the 100th win in the Cup Series for Team Penske. Brad Keselowski will win the Coke 0400.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. 1 per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
The grill is hot and the cooler is cold at America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA. Join us each weekend as your host and head chef Rob Tanner serves up the hottest hits and country music, and Steve Post drops by with NASCAR news straight from the sport's top garages and shops. We have 2 hours of country music at the speed of sound, getting you ready for NASCAR racing. Rev up your weekend at America's Tailgate Party, NASCAR USA.
Motor Racing Network has a way for you to reach out and express your thoughts and opinions on NASCAR. It's the MRN Fan Forum Hotline.
Just wondering, what's the first thing you tend to
I was curious about those new rules from what I heard.
Call in 844-4-ASK-MRN. Got a question or comment for a driver or MRN personality? 844-4-ASK-MRN.
You guys keep it on. Let's see you guys next
It's
weekend.
the Fan Forum Hotline, your connection to the sport of NASCAR.
That's us, that's right. Gotta love this American ride. Both ends of the ocean burning. Funny how the world keeps turning. Hot dog, hot damn. I love this American ride.
There you go, some special music for us on the 4th of July Spectacular here for Motorsports Monday. I'm Woody, he's Joey. A special guest joins us on the line now from Circle Sport Levine Family Racing, Michael McDowell, a top 10 finish at Daytona. Michael, how about that race? Congratulations. You guys are moving in the right direction. That had to be a thriller from your seat.
Yeah, it was a great result for us, just being a small team and not having a bunch of top 10s this year for us to gain some points and have a solid run and get some TV time for our partners, K-Love Radio and Thriving Financial, and it's just good. It's a good momentum builder. We've had some solid runs at the speedways before, and so you just never know. You can be caught up in the big one and lose a lot of points and a race car, or have a solid night like we did. So very thankful for it.
Yeah, Michael, you talked about a solid top 10. It's your 3rd top 10 at Daytona. Driving for those guys, and it's an interesting thing we don't deal a lot with in qualifying or race trim, making a lot of adjustments. So you really start the race with a game plan. Were you one of those guys that was going to lay in the back for a portion of the race, or were you going to be in the thick of it right away?
Yeah, I always just try to get up and get myself wedged in that top 10 to 15 as early as I can and just try to stay there. We qualified near the back at around 37th, I believe, so we had a lot of work to do, but was able to get in the top 20 fairly early on. And fortunately for us, we actually had a little mishap on our green flag stop, which got us out of that big pack and out of that draft. And, at the time we were thinking, oh, man, we're going to lose a lap and, this isn't going to work out at all. But then the big one happened and cycled us, up to the front there, and we were able to, get some spots at those last couple of restarts and, had a shot at a top 5 there coming to the white. Just kind of got shuffled out, 3 wide, got the wrong lane and the wrong time. So but still to come away with top 10 was awesome for us.
I've talked to a lot of guys, Michael, who say the race at Daytona and Talladega, for that matter, too, aren't physically demanding, but mentally you just feel like, man, you're drained after a race like that from all the moves you have to make and all the things you have to watch and pay attention to. How do you feel climbing out of the car at a super speedway race? Is it like, man, you've played chess for 12 straight hours or what?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely mentally fatiguing. You know, especially now. There used to be a time where you would spend a good portion of the race just kind of, you know, buying time and riding around, and now you just race your guts out the entire race, and you know, you're side drafting everywhere. You're trying to get runs. You're trying to manage the lane that you're in. The leaders are moving from bottom to top to middle and blocking the runs coming, which kind of accordions everything. So it's a constant battle. You got to have your guard up the entire time. You have to be paying attention.
Yeah, it's been well documented that we were fortunate enough in the 2-car to get to victory lane at our first time at Daytona. Brad hasn't been that successful. His success has come at Talladega, and you're actually the complete opposite. All of your success is at Daytona. Can you attribute that to anything?
I usually crash at the end of Talladega. You know, the last 3 or 4 times there, I've been in a really good spot, you know, in the top 10, you know, coming to, you know, 4 or 5 to go, and I just haven't survived them. So it's not that we run any better at Daytona, but we just seem to be fortunate there. Yeah, you just never know. I mean, you know, part of my strategy, and it works at some places and others it doesn't, is, you know, I just get up and I get in the mix, and I try to stay there all day. You know, especially with our program, and just for me, I feel like when you're up there, the guys are recognizing you, they're comfortable with you, and they won't leave you as bad on the last little bit, because you know, a single car team, you know, people still have their favorites, and they still have teammates that they buddy up with. So you got to make sure you get yourself in a position people will work with you at the end.
Tell us a little about Circle Sport Levine Family Racing, because you run most of the races. Ty Dillon runs some of the races. You guys are building and growing now. Give us an idea of where you are and where things stand with the organization.
Yeah, we are. We're a growing organization. You know, this is our first year for Circle Sport Levine Family Racing to go full time. Now, obviously, Ty Dillon's doing a handful of those races, but still in the 95 car. So it's a big undertaking for our team, just to get staffed up and the equipment and everything that you need to go from a partial schedule to a full-time schedule is, you know, a pretty significant, you know, change for us in the off season. But, you know, with this new charter system, and fortunately we're in a good spot, and now we're able to grow this program even further. And, you know, so it's just taking it one race at a time, 1 week at a time. And really for us is just finding those small victories, you know, top 10s, top 15s, you know, running in front of the cars we feel like we should be running in front of, and just trying to build towards, you know, being, you know, a top, you know, 20 team is so hard in the Sprint Cup Series. So we're just trying to walk before we run here, but, you know, weekends like this definitely help.
Yeah, earlier this year, Thor Sport experienced a similar fate as your shop did several months ago before that. Talk to us about the fire at the shop and how the team rebuilding went through from there.
Yeah, you know, fires are devastating, and you know, Thor Sport obviously just went through it, you know, less than a month ago. And for us last year, we had a similar instance, and it was just one of those times where you just had to kind of grind it out. You know, we were fortunate that Penske Racing let us utilize one of their buildings, and so we had a place to work. And but we lost a lot of equipment, and you know, obviously there was a lot of time spent on figuring out what happened at the fire. You know, going through everything, finding what was good, what was bad. And being a small team, when you lose 2 or 3 people to sort through that, you know, it hurts the program. So. You know, it was a setback, but, you know, now we're still in the same shop. We got to rebuild the back half. It's better than it's ever been. The shop is beautiful. It's for as old as it is, it's still a very, very nice race shop. And Bob and Sharon have done a great job with that. And, you know, we got a great place to work now.
Now, there's some history to that shop as well, right? There have been some pretty big names through there over the years, haven't there?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of history in that building for sure. You know, we're right off of the speedway there. You could hit a golf ball there, and there's been a lot of race teams and great race teams, and you know, it's crazy to think that there's been so many legends in that building, and we're a small team trying to build back to what it once was.
You talk about a small team and the difficulty it is sometimes, and we try to give an opportunity to come up with different sponsors and everything. You guys had a very unique situation happen to you with Dave Winston's computer system.
Wait, what?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
what happened?
And it allowed you to actually acquire a relationship and an association with a sponsor. Tell everybody about the unique situation with Dave Winston's computer.
Yeah, so my crew chief, Dave Winston, he was heading over to RCR for a competition meeting, and before he closed down his computer, he noticed that like some of the files were loading up in the Dropbox, and he wasn't sending them there, but they were just loading, and wasn't really sure what was going on. And then our engineer, Kevin Walter, we're all networked together and we're on an integrated system, called Dave and said, hey, don't start your computer and don't connect to any networks. It's taking all your files and putting them over here. And by the time we figured out what was going on, Dave started receiving some emails saying, hey, we basically have your files, and they were kind of held ransom. Pay this amount and you'll get your files back. And so he couldn't open anything, he couldn't access anything. And it's a lot of years of information on there. Dave's been with several different race teams and has kept great notes for himself, and through the years, he's got wind tunnel information and simulation and all our parts and pieces that have been scanned in. And so it's kind of one of those, gut-wrenching moments, not knowing what was going to happen. We had some stuff back up, but not everything was backed up. But luckily, we were able to get majority of our files back, and through that, we were able to build a relationship with Malwarebytes, and Malwarebytes is number one in leading in any sort of malware, but also ransomware too, which is what we needed. So now we're protected, and it's kind of a cool partnership for sure, and it's something that now we know moving forward that our computers and our files and our information is safe.
Yeah, man, I'm writing that down right now. Malwarebytes. We got to get checked out, because if Joey loses all the stuff he's got on there's no telling what might happen. Hey, speaking of sponsors, you guys have a really cool deal going on with Thrivent right now, the Motor to Miami sweepstakes. Tell the folks about that. That sounds like a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Lucky fans going to get the opportunity to come to Miami for the season finale and be a part of our program, but not just be a part of it. We're going to have a motorhome set up for them. They're going to be camping out on the infield, up on the pit box, really being a part of the team for a weekend. And it's a pretty cool opportunity for a lucky fan if they're able to win. And so Thrivent Racing set it up on thriventracing.com, and you just go on there and share inspirational stories or photos or things that impact you. And at the end of the sweepstakes here, we're going to pick a grand prize winner of that Motor to Miami trip, and it's going to be awesome. You get special guests that kind of come and get to see it, but to really be ingrained and staying in the motorhome and experience the entire weekend, it's going to be pretty cool for a lucky fan.
Yeah, you're not talking about throwing them out there in a tent somewhere. A motor coach for the weekend is pretty sweet. That's
yeah.
THRIVENT Racing, thriventracing.com. It's the Motor to Miami sweepstakes. Check that out, folks. That's going to be a really cool deal.
Yep, so now you got to make room to hang another banner in the shop. That's not a bad problem to have.
No, it's a great problem to have. I thought we were going to be in an even better spot than we were. The bottom lane kind of got choked up, and I was pushing the 18, and coming to the white, the 22 kind of slid in there, and I got to his rear bumper, and I was figuring, okay, he's going to make a move, and I'm going to stay right here with him and hopefully come off a 4 and let everybody fan out and see if I can't punch a hole through the middle. And getting into 3, the 17 had a big run with a big push and shot to the bottom. And as soon as he shot to the bottom, Joey was able to get down, and I kind of got hung in the middle there and lost 4 or 5 spots coming to the line. But for a minute there, I thought I was going to be in great position, especially if anything happened up front. But it's cool to at least even be in the race and be in the story and be the one up there mixing it up. And we had a top 5 that we could see. We just weren't able to finish it off. So.
Well, even though we're on the 4th of July break here now, not much of a break, no rest for the weary, you guys turn right back around and head for Kentucky, where everything is new. New package, new track, new everything. What are you expecting there?
Yeah, it's going to be a big week for everybody. There's so many unknowns, and there's a lot that's happened, since the test there as well. So I think that there's a lot of unknowns, but at the same time, I think it's kind of a fun race when everybody goes into it a little bit blind. It seems to mix things up, and you maybe get some new teams and new stories in that mix. I mean, the fast guys will always be fast, but you usually see somebody break out in these types of weekends. And Ty Dillon will be in the car this weekend, but my team will be there, and we'll be learning as much as we can, especially with the rules configuration, and really see how the cars respond and things that we need to maybe do moving forward. So, you're learning at such a fast rate in this sport. So when you have changes like that, it's really imperative that you maximize those weekends.
All right, we're all looking forward to it as well. That's Michael McDowell from Circle Sport, Levine Family Racing. Don't forget to check out the Motor2 Miami sweepstakes at thriveatracing.com. Tell them your story, and you might get a Motor Coach weekend at Homestead, Miami coming up at the end of the season. Michael, appreciate your time, man. Congratulations on a strong run.
All right, thank you.
Nice job, Michael.
There you go. So, it's always cool when you see somebody, just as he mentioned there, kind of pop up that we don't normally see up in that top group.
Well, and again, it shows you the ability of what the driver is capable of doing. The cars are more equal, okay, and the driver plays a larger portion. You have restrictor plates, you have the road courses, where the driver is connected to the performance of the car at a greater level than some other racetracks. We talk about qualifying, and the driver goes, I don't do anything, I just get in and drive around. But for a team and a performance of Michael McDowell's standards, it's because it was driver-driven. It wasn't because they had this super-duper cheated-up, aerodynamic, all wind tunnel-tested car. It was because the driver got in the car, had good pit stops during the event to stay up there. He avoided the big one and was able to drag that car to a top 10 finish. And that's what we see from Michael several times now. This is his third top 10.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence.
When you keep doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got to take another time out here on Motorsports Monday. On the other side, Matt Tifft is going to join us. Actually, we'll do on-track, off-track first, and then Matt Tifft will be a little bit later on in the program. However, as we go out, we talked to Brad Keselowski a little bit earlier. Here's what the second-place finisher, Kyle Busch, had to say after the Coke Zero 400.
It was really close to Talladega. We finished second at Talladega. Just there at the end of the race, I mean, the two cars just really, really fast, really, really strong, and it's really hard to get by them. I mean, I tried just about everything. The only thing I didn't quite have was a big enough push one time to just try to make a move. I mean, he was really good at making that thing pretty wide. So, I can't say enough about our Interstate Batteries team for all the work and effort that they put in to bring us back from where we were a couple days ago and being able to get us this really good race car here tonight. So, our Toyota Camry was fast thanks to TRD and their horsepower and everybody, NOS Energy Drink, M&Ms, Snickers, Skittles, everybody. So I just wish that we had a little bit more in order to try to get the victory there. I had a big run from the 6. Trevor Bain really helped us out there at the end and getting us a really good shot down the backstretch. But, man, I just didn't have enough. I just couldn't get to the outside.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
Live sports are the one true reality entertainment, where a single dramatic moment can become timeless. In NASCAR, Motor Racing Network's live broadcasts elevate your senses to the sights, sounds, and struggles taking place on the racetrack.
One final lap in the Daytona 500. Joey Logano has the point. Junior crosses over.
The power of radio to the imagination of the listener. Tune in to the Motor Racing Network. Visit MRN.com for an affiliate list in your local area.
Being there matters, and your United States Navy protects and defends America on the world's oceans. Around the globe, around the clock, Navy ships, submarines, aircraft, and, most importantly, tens of thousands of America's finest young men and women are ready to defend America when piracy threatens global commerce, when disaster strikes, or when called upon by the Commander-in-Chief. Your Navy is there. When it comes to protecting and defending America, being there matters, and America's Navy is already there.
Looking for winged sprint car coverage? MRN has you covered with Winged Nation. Tuesdays at noon Eastern, it's Winged Nation presented by Hercules Tire on MRN.com. Thursdays, check out the Winged Nation Weekend Preview podcast presented by Hefner Racing Products. Then on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. Eastern, watch Winged Nation presented by Sage Fruit on BAV TV. MRN's Winged Nation, your source for all things winged sprint cars.
Motorsports Monday, 4th of July spectacular rolls on. I was born in the USA, so was Joey. We got a lot to talk about on the show. Don't forget, folks, Matt Tifft is going to join us in the next segment to tell us how he's doing after, boy, just a whirlwind of medical issues coming up for him lately, but it looks like everything is moving in the right direction. But that means it's about time for On Track, Off Track, where we discuss some things we believe are going well in the world of motorsports and some things that maybe aren't going quite so well. Let's start on the positive side. What's going well? Well, I know what's going well for you.
Yeah, no, I was born, if you're an astrologist believer, I'm a Libra. I always try to look at both sides.
Really, me too. How about that?
And try to look at things objectively. Obviously, we have our own radio show. I get to talk about whatever we want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But for 7 years, I've been with Brad Keselowski since the beginning of 2010. We've led the last lap at Daytona in the Xfinity car. We've run very competitive in the Cup car. Simply to be able to pull this off finally the July 4th of 2016 and get to victory lane, I can just say it honestly is a very good feeling. It was a great weekend. We qualified in the top 5. We had decent practice, which was cut short because of rain.
Yeah.
And then be able to lead as many laps and just run up front and be able to pull it off is a very good feeling. I could talk about a lot of great things going on at Daytona, but for me personally, this was a very big milestone to be a part of, to get Brad or be a part of Brad's victory and Team Penske and Paul Wolfe. You know, those 4 guys, and it might be more, I might be missing some, but 4 guys that are on that team with Jerry, Paul, Brad, and myself that we've been together originally since 2010. To be able to finish the weekend off in victory lane, it doesn't get much better.
I was in our truck at the MRN truck doing our post-race show, so I didn't get to see a whole lot of the activity in victory lane, but I thought I saw a picture of Roger Penske out there hosing people down with champagne.
Yes, he was.
Am I imagining things?
No, that was part of the 100th celebration. We had banners, we had hats. You know, we have really cool 100 hats here. So, no, it was a big deal. Simply put, that he was able to be there.
Yeah.
Normally, you know, Roger Penske calls the race for his IndyCar team. So he actually travels to every IndyCar because during the race, he is the crew chief's job is different in IndyCar racing. But during the race, he calls the race for IndyCar, almost a spotter on the box, if you will.
Yeah.
So he misses a lot of the NASCAR side of things. Now that IndyCar Series is going to finish up, he'll stay at the NASCAR side of things. For him to be available and for us to be able to accomplish what we did is just really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic for sure. Okay, On Track for me is something that hit me while I was walking around the newly revamped motorsports stadium that is Daytona International Speedway. It was really cool over the weekend when you see fans bringing their coolers with food and drinks in them. We see the pre-race concert, Montgomery Gentry, and stuff like that's going on at all the tracks. Now, try and drag your cooler into an NBA or an NFL game and see what happens to you. Try and get a concert before, I don't know, a baseball game. Every once in a while you might, but that's pretty much standard now at all these tracks. And granted, I know there are still issues. A lot of the hotels are still charging an awful lot of money for these races that they don't charge when the races are not in town. But the fan experience at a NASCAR weekend is really pretty cool when you add everything all together.
The simple fact is your tailgating experiences at other facilities is outside the track.
Mm-hmm.
All of this is going on inside the facility while you get to watch your drivers walk over to driver introduction and they're going to press passes and cars are going through inspection. Hey, I can't hear you. The noise in the background's the engine's running and it's wide open and hey, I'm having a beer.
Yeah,
it's
right.
pretty cool.
That you brought from home.
Yes.
Yeah. Instead of going to the concession stand and paying $32.95 for it or whatever they want to charge these days.
It's a great opportunity. It is a family sport. We kid about it. It's a long traveling days, and the crew guys put on long hours. But from an entertainment standpoint, it doesn't get much better. What you get, the bang for the buck.
Yeah, I just hope people don't start taking that for granted because, man, other sports don't give you that type of experience that you get at a NASCAR track. Okay, what about off track? What's not going quite so well in Joey's world?
One of the things this weekend we heard about was how great Brad Keselowski's car was. One of the things we heard about was Joey wrecking Kurt Busch. Years and years go by, we see cars that are dominant up front, but the driver gets a lot of the credit. When an accident happens and guys go, oh, it was my bad, depending on who the driver was, it's like, well, it was just his bad, no big deal. But certain drivers don't get the benefit of the doubt. And I understand we've created this little window that we're in with Brad and Joey. But sometimes we simply need to be able to say he had a really good car, but he also did a really good job with it. And I think if that driver would have been another driver and led 115 laps, the car would have gotten less credit and the driver would have. So the double standard sometimes is very frustrating. And we see it not with just Brad or Joey, but Jimmy Johnson gets booed. He's a 6-time champion. Let's be honest, the guy's really good at what he does.
You don't luck your way to 6 titles.
No,
Yeah.
and simply put, I'm not saying Brad Keselowski is the best restrictor plate racer. I'm not even coming close to that. But be honest.
He's pretty dadgum good,
He's
though.
been pretty good since 2009. He's been pretty good. He's had different cars the entire time. We just had Michael McDowell on here, a single-car team, been changing manufacturers the last couple of years. He's had 3 top 10s at Daytona. He's pretty good. Yes, he's had good cars. Yes, they've had good pit stops, but Michael McDowell's been pretty good. Let's just give credit when credit is due. Joey Logano wrecked Kurt Busch. Joey isn't the anti-devil or the devil of the sport. We saw drivers make wrecks earlier in the race. They aren't the anti-devil. Sometimes we just have wrecks.
The anti-devil? There you go. Word of the day. How about that?
Okay.
All right.
Sometimes we just have wrecks for guys going for position, but we have this double standard that when it's cool to jump on board the bandwagon to criticize these guys, it just gets kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, that takes us to Twitter where Gail Delaney, you just answered it, but she wanted to know, do you feel there's a silent but organized gang up on Penske, real talent always being discredited?
The reason we enjoy the ganging up is because both Brad and Joey are threats to win races and win championships. You're not going to hear things about other drivers that may do dumb things or wreck people because they're not a threat to win. And so Brad and Joey are a threat to win week in, week out, year in, year out for a chase. Where both cars are in the chase already. And we saw Joey and Brad in the last several years make it very close to the last round, if not the last round. And Brad was able to capitalize in 2012 and win a championship. Those drivers are threats to other drivers, and that's why we get more of the angst from other drivers and teams than probably that other drivers would get if they weren't the threat.
I mean, you see a lot of that stuff on social media, but to continue along those lines, there you see most wins 2014 to 16 among active drivers. Joey Logano right up at the top there, Brad Keselowski near it as well. Zach Copeland wants to know, is the 2-car being recognized in the garage as the team to beat at plate tracks, sort of getting up there with the 88?
You know, it's interesting because I don't think one driver or one team gets as much credit than, say, a Dale Jr. Dale Jr. has 10 restrictor plate wins, but there comes a time that people, Michael said earlier, you follow certain people and maybe they might not follow Michael, but you definitely put yourself in that category in the top echelon of teams. With the Gibbs teams, every 4 of their drivers are good at restrictor plate races, and definitely the 2 teams at Team Penske are being associated with restrictor plate wins. Joey won the Daytona 500. Brad's won the last 2 restrictor plate races. So you can't – you heard Kyle Busch talk about how strong they were. They recognize those are the guys that, in the middle of the race, if you want to go forward, you're going to get in behind those guys and end up being in the front.
Even if they don't admit it all the time, they see it. They know what's going on the track for sure. Okay, off track for me is, and I know you and I have had our differences about qualifying at plate tracks. Okay, all right, really? We have come to sort of an agreement, a semi-agreement about you don't want to wad up your car for group qualifying at a restrictor plate track. However, why, if we're going to go to single car qualifying on these plate tracks, do we need 2 rounds? Why? Why don't we just have the 1 round and be done with it? The same car in qualifying at Daytona that was fastest in the first round was also fastest in the second round.
No way.
What did we settle? What did we add by having a second round of qualifying, single car qualifying?
Yeah, no, I'm completely on your side on this. It doesn't make any
Wait, what?
Yep.
Now it's my turn to be shocked.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm not really sure when we go to the single car qualifying method that we've done at Talladega and Daytona. I don't know what the second round accomplishes. Then again, there are several things that happen that I can't tell you what accomplishes. We still do it. These cars go through tech so many times. Qualifying is just another one of those things that we have a procedure in place because I think we do it because they just do it that way. I bet if you asked a lot of the officials and
that's the way we do things
here. Exactly
yeah.
right. And that's the way we continue to do things. But you're correct in saying the single car qualifying at speedways is kind of cool, having 2 cars on the track and it just clicking off really quick is a good effort, a good idea. The 2 rounds really didn't make any sense, and we still do it, though.
Yeah, that's what I do have to give him credit. Remember in the old days of single car, it was your lap, your warm-up lap, your regular lap, a cool-down lap, get out, read a book, have a meal, then send the next car out. 16 hours later, you're still qualifying. Now, the way they're doing it, they're speeding it up, getting that next car on the track very quickly, and it moves along much better. I applaud them for doing that. I like that a lot. But 2 rounds at single car qualifying just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I agree.
Wow. I think we can end the show right there. Roll credits, Darryl. We're all done here. Joey has agreed with me. All right, now I want to go back to something you said earlier about guys not getting the same kind of credit or not being called out when they do something that's incorrect. Folks may remember Tony Stewart got into a late incident at Daytona on Saturday night. Here's what he had to say afterward.
Up there in the thick of things is Tony Stewart, who won last week. He's in 5th right now, and he's inside the top 30 by only 6 points. But he's probably thinking an
Tony Stewart
win.
spins. He gets pushed 3 wide. He's into the outside retaining wall. He gets collected by Casey Mears. Austin Dillon gets a piece of it as well. No sooner did we mention Tony Stewart, something went wrong. Might have had a right rear tire issue. Might have gotten a bump from behind.
Tony, tell us what happened.
I just got loose going into one, and when I corrected to the right, I caught it too far and overcorrected and then drove it in the wall. So apologize to the guys I screwed up behind me that got caught up in it, but definitely wasn't what we wanted for sure. But we were at least in a position to have a decent run at the end.
That's a very good example of a double standard. Now, Tony completely admitted he was at fault. Several years back, we were leading the pack. We were several laps down, and we wrecked. Brad said, my fault, I got loose. He got lambasted over it because he wrecked the field. Sometimes things happen. I get Tony Stewart was completely at fault. He admitted
and
it completely
he said
at fault.
so. Yeah.
Exactly right. But nobody, not one other word talked about Tony Stewart's discretion issues on the racetrack. And that's kind of where I'm going at. Let's just be honest and give every driver the same benefit of the doubt.
All right, there you go. We got to take another time out here on Motorsports Monday. Matt Tifft will join us on the other side. Stick around for that.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. 1 per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
When the smoke settles, the entertainment never stops.
I feel like experience kind of outweighs youth.
On race weekends, your favorite NASCAR personality is an everyday superhero.
Kyle Busch driving for his life right now.
But when they leave the racetrack, they're just like everyone else.
Our lives are so much different than what people may think they are.
I'm Susie Armstrong. Join me on a daily journey as we discuss the hot topics and engaging personalities of NASCAR Nation. Ned Jarrett's World of Racing, weekdays on the Motor Racing Network.
With stars and stripes and the eagle fly. We're the stars and stripes and the eagle fly.
We got the special patriotic music rolling along. We got fireworks popping in the background. The 4th of July spectacular for Motorsports Monday continues here, and we're both very excited. Our next guest is on the line with us now. From Joe Gibbs Racing, Matt Tifft is out of the hospital after brain surgery. Man, how great it is to be able to say that. Matt, welcome to the program, and congratulations. How are you feeling?
Thank you. Getting better. I think yesterday was pretty rough, just kind of getting home and dealing with the effects of the anesthesia still kind of in my system, but energy levels are coming back up a little bit. I think every day it gets a little bit better. We did the same thing with the biopsy I had to do a couple weeks ago, but it's obviously a lot more severe of a come down, I guess you could say, from the actual surgery. So, but getting better.
Yeah, Matt, you and I have never personally met, but I chose to grab a hold of your story, and it really inspired me all of weekend from July 4th weekend and your issues coming out of the hospital, just from a level of appreciation. I mean, they friggin' did brain surgery on you, and you were able to joke before and joke after, and did a great job on Twitter really explaining how you were doing before and how you're doing after. Talk to us about how the procedure went and actually how you became, you didn't start with brain problems 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. It actually started with your back. Talk to us about how that procedure happened.
Yeah, it's funny now looking back on some of the Twitter videos and stuff. I honestly don't know if I fully remember doing that. I guess that's just all the stuff they had to knock me out. But yes, so last year I had a couple hits at the end of the year that just kind of tweaked up my back a little bit, and I just had some spells with it. And so I went in a few weeks ago, and it was with Dr. Petty, and we're going to get a spine MRI scan done. And I said, you know what, I had a concussion a few years back, just when I was a kid, and I just had never gotten an MRI done on my head, and I thought, since we were going to be in there, I asked if there's any way I could just get that done too, just for peace of mind, just knowing, what it looks like. And that way, if I ever had to get another scan done, if I got in another crash and got a concussion, I would have something to go off of. And sure enough, we found this tumor in there. And actually, they didn't think it was a tumor at first. They thought it was called what's called cellular dysplasia, which is where you have a deformation of cells, and it could be completely normal. You have no idea, if it's been there for a while or not. So they sent it to a brain tumor council, and they looked it all over, and they kind of voted on it, and all the top neurologists around the country voted and, put in their 2 cents of what they thought it was, and it came back kind of like 60-40 in favor of a brain tumor. So they wanted to go ahead and do a brain biopsy while all the back stuff was going on. So we just did some simple treatments for the back stuff. But in the days following the Iowa race that I just set out, we went ahead with the brain biopsy, and we got the results back, and it was pointing towards about 95% towards what's called low-grade glioma, which is a very slow-growing brain tumor. But obviously that's not something you want to mess with.
Yeah, man, that's just an amazing story. I guess from your perspective, we mentioned earlier that Sam Hornish Jr. climbed into the car and wound up winning in Iowa. And at the time, I bet you're probably going, "Oh man, I could have been in that seat." But then when all the rest of it happens, it kind of gives you, I would guess anyway, a whole new perspective on things, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it was definitely hard at first, but I think once we got the results of that biopsy back and everything going on, it's your priorities change quite a bit at that point. Then it's just getting yourself back healthy, and the racing becomes secondary. It's about your own health at that point. So obviously it's a complete change of interest when you're talking about a brain tumor that's in there.
Yeah, and whenever anybody says minor brain surgery, it's kind of a lie, because
there is no such thing.
There is no such thing. But now we're back. Essentially, you're exactly on pace. I believe you're a little ahead of schedule. You came home early, and walking, and obviously talking well and eating. Life is returning to normal. What is your prognosis? How do you think, and how, if you were guessing, when will you be back at the racetrack?
I definitely got out of the hospital quick, which was a good sign. The surgery was Friday, and they started at about 3 o'clock, and I was home by midnight on Saturday night. So it's a pretty quick turnaround for a brain tumor removal surgery. They were actually expecting that I was still going to be there till today, was their original thought. So obviously got out of there a lot quicker than they thought I would. So I've just been resting up at home here in Charlotte, and I'm not really sure what the timetable is going to be for getting back to the racetrack. It's going to be just traveling to the racetrack first, obviously, before even getting in a car. Based on the medications I have to take and waiting for my stitches to heal, it's going to be at least 4 weeks before anything really happens, just because of the medications that they have to put you on and make sure there's no there's no risk with seizure activity or hemorrhages or anything like that could happen inside my brain. So it's still very fragile, and I still can't take any hits with it. So I just still have to be very careful day to day with everything I do. And obviously that gets better as time goes on. But for about that 4-week stint, I won't be able to do anything that will actually make me sweat at all, or get basically blood pumping through there, because that can pose real serious danger. But after that point, we'll see where we're at. The main thing I'm pretty anxious to see back now is we get the results of the pathology, and based on the lab results, when they test the tumor sample out, that's going to they do a genetics test on it, and that's going to tell us what kind of tumor it was, if it would have became cancerous, what kind of regression level it had, and all that. And then I'll kind of know if I need to do anything, or if I have to go through chemo and radiation to kill off the rest of it, make sure it doesn't come back. So that's the next step, is finding out what the heck is going to happen with that, basically.
All right, well, make sure if you get to the racetrack, and I know you're not going to be in a car, I have a personal invite to come to the spotter stand. I believe Hirschman or Lambert or Crazy, one of them guys will be spotting for you. We'll have a spot for you up top to be able to watch a really cool race, whether it's a truck, Xfinity, or Cup race. But if you get to the track, come up, and I'd love to meet you and talk to you. It'd be a privilege. Yeah, for sure. No, I saw your tweets over the weekend. I really appreciate it. It's always cool to see the sport from around the industry. I know you were one of the main guys with it, so it's definitely a lot to go through, that's for sure. But it's it's going to be well worth it in the scheme of things, and it's just something you can't put off or fight against, because our original debate was, well, okay, let's see, if because the way they had seen it, they had no idea if this thing had been in there for years or since I was born or what. They thought it had been in there for a while. So, of course, at first you're kind of selfish saying, well, if it's been in there forever, who cares? Like, what's the difference from me racing at Michigan a few weeks ago and racing now? But then, you got to take a step back and say, okay, well, let's not be stupid here, because if you wait until November, you just have no idea what shape that tumor would have been in by then, or what kind of prognosis we'd be looking at. And luckily when we did the surgery, we were at a good state where we could take the tumor out and not have to worry about too much else, and we didn't have to get absolutely everything out. Now I know they got a large chunk, if not all of it. I know they're not allowed to say they got all of it out, because it's just not fair, because they don't know about the fiber networks and all that fun stuff in your brain that I don't even really understand. But that can be a life and death, malignant tumor at that point, had we have waited. So, and obviously luckily was not at that state. So, it was just good to get it out of there, and looking forward to healing up and getting to be able to walk and move around a whole lot more and be more active again in a few days. And probably by next week, I should be feeling almost back to 100%, I would guess. And, make it back to the race shop, and then hopefully in not too long, you'll see me back in a car, which is just kind of crazy thinking about that, going through this whole process. So, but definitely looking back, definitely ready to get back to normal life.
Yeah, man, that is really amazing when you consider everything. And the other thing I wanted to mention, too, is it really seems like Joe Gibbs Racing has been very supportive of you through this whole process, and that's got to be comforting as well.
Yeah, no, for sure they have been. And obviously it's such a touchy situation in a way. It's not your normal, just physical injury or whatever. It's not. But I think that's, I talked about it on the show before, that's the hardest part, is you don't know. I think I talked about it on Sirius XM, is that it's not a tangible thing. You can't point to your leg or your arm and say ow, and then you go to the gym and work on it and try to re-strengthen it. You just can't do anything, because your brain is just, well, it's your brain.
No explanation.
You can try to be active and try to get blood pumping and stuff, but it's not like your brain is going to be lifting weights or anything like that. So you just have to be patient, which is probably the most frustrating part of it, is you just have to be patient and not get frustrated with the whole process.
Wow, and I know that's one of the toughest things for any race car driver is patience, but, man, you sure are exhibiting it now. Well, listen, Matt, we won't keep you. We're glad that you're doing well and things are moving in the right direction, and it's just a real cool deal to hear from you, and look forward to seeing you back at the racetrack real soon.
Yeah, thank you guys very much, and like I said from the beginning, I'll try to keep everyone as updated as much as possible, and obviously those lab results are probably going to be our next step, so But the more I keep moving around and all that, I'll try to update people with it. And but yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and hopefully next time we talk, things are going to keep looking even better.
Absolutely. Follow him on Twitter at Matt_Tifft. That's TIFFT to find out how things are going. Matt, thanks for your time, man. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good 4th of July.
Thanks, there you go. Boy, we just did have a good 4th of July right there, here in that conversation.
You know, when you talk about a brain surgery, I've had a couple of skin issues, and they go in, they cut it out, and they go through the labs, and if they don't like it, they just cut more out.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know about it. But we're talking about your brain, and they're going to remove something. You're like, make sure you get it all out, but not too much.
yeah, right. Exactly the right amount. Yeah.
It's my brain. And for him to be so upbeat, for him to have the ability to be, again, we're talking about he's eating again, he's walking again, he's talking again, the normal things that, again, on today's day, we take for granted in an appreciation level of our nation's birthday. I'm really glad. Thanks for being on. I'm glad he's doing good. Again, racing a car is the last thing he needs to worry about, but it does look very promising for his career to resume at the end of this rehab.
Absolutely it does. Now, he's in the Xfinity Series. We mentioned David Reagan filled in for him at Daytona. He got swept up in a wreck, but before that, Sam Hornish Jr., who we had on the program, won in the car that Matt would have been driving at Iowa Speedway. So speaking of Xfinity, Eric Almirola was our winner at Daytona on Friday night. Here's what he had to say afterwards.
An emotional couple laps. I thought I had a good shot to win, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get it done, and then I got a big push from the 7. The 7 kept pushing, and then he pulled out, and the 18 came and started giving me a good push. So really thankful for that. Just a huge night for me to get back to victory lane in the Xfinity Series. I didn't feel like I had won in the Xfinity Series before. Tonight was my night, man. I won in the Xfinity race, and I can now say that I've won in every series in NASCAR.
Caution flag came out. Did you know that you had won the race and the agonizing wait there for the confirmation?
No, I didn't know. When my spotter, Stevie's, told me that they were wrecking behind me, I was ahead of the 7, and I knew it. And then he started to get a run on me, and he said, still no caution, still no caution. I was like, are you kidding me? I thought, man, they're going to let us race back to the start-finish line. And I kept side drafting them just in case they were going to throw the caution at any time. I wanted to make sure I was ahead of them. They threw the caution, and I knew when he said caution's out, I felt like we were door to door, and I didn't know who was going to be called the winner.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
Race fans, you know there's nothing like the power, excitement, and sounds of NASCAR. Ever wonder what it would be like to strap yourself in the seat of an authentic NASCAR race car? You can do it at the Richard Petty Driving Experience. Ride along or drive yourself at one of 15 tracks nationwide. Call 1-800-237-3889 or visit online at drivepetty.com. Richard Petty Driving Experience. It's authentic NASCAR entertainment. Call 1-800-237-3889 or visit drivepetty.com to reserve your experience.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. One per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
Looking for a great spot for an affordable beach vacation or the perfect romantic retreat? Let the Plaza Resort and Spa help. A vacation on the world's most famous beach is sure to help you reconnect with the ones you love. Discover the grand tradition of hospitality and service on Daytona Beach. The Plaza Resort and Spa is the perfect choice for any type of getaway. Book online at plazaresortandspa.com or call 1-855-DB-PLAZA. That's 1-855-327-5292.
Fireworks popping, white flag lap here for the 4th of July Spectacular on Motorsports Monday. Woody Kane and Joey Meyer along with you. One more Twitter question here. Howie Foreman wants to know, is there a relationship between Alliance Truck Parts, which you have on your shirt there, and Detroit Genuine Parts, which we noticed on the car on Saturday?
Absolutely. Alliance Truck Parts is our main sponsor, and right under them is Detroit Gasket Parts and things of that nature. So Alliance Truck Parts is more like the parent company.
Okay.
They are a direct relationship. Whenever we run the Detroit car, it's through the Alliance. We still have our fire suits and everything associated with Alliance truck parts.
Gotcha. All right, now we're looking forward to Kentucky coming up this week. Brand new racetrack. The low downforce package goes there, which is one of the first tracks we experimented with it on, but now a whole new track. What can we expect?
Man, you talk about completely new. We got a completely new racing surface, completely reconfigured turns 1 and 2 with variable banking. We still have some bumps down the front stretch and the low downforce package. We get extra practice. Cars are going to be really, really fast. The Xfinity tire, Cup tire is now on the Xfinity car because it had problems. A lot of unknowns.
All right, don't forget, folks, on NASCAR Live coming up Tuesday night at 7, Tony Stewart is the guest. You'll want to be a part of that as well. You can call in at 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm Woody. He's Joey. This is Motorsports Monday. See you next week.
You've been listening to MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. Tune in again next Monday at noon Eastern for all the latest news, results, and interviews from NASCAR on MotorRacingNetwork.com. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. MRN Motorsports Monday is also available on demand at the MotorRacingNetwork.com Media Center. Or you can download it from iTunes or Stitcher. MRN Motorsports Monday is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.